Hello and welcome to Taters Incorporated Presents. My name is Fabiola 10, and I'm your host and guide through this brief presentation. Leaping forward into the future, why Windows 10 should be left in the past. Windows 10 puts us at a security risk. We value our data and privacy, and keeping our data safe is top priority. Security flaws in the Windows OS can go unanswered for years, until a major virus, malware, or other pops up. Microsoft is a bit reactive and not proactive in this issue. Microsoft will eventually end support for Windows 10. Windows then becomes sluggish and inefficient on our more mature hardware. Take, for example, our Dell Optiplex and Toshiba's. We must have an OS that would take advantage of our hardware's lifetime. Microsoft licensing and software increased in cost each year. The cost to maintain current licensing and software to run our dedicated apps cut into our profits. We must make smart moves so we can equal to smart money. Ubuntu, a brighter future. Ubuntu is open source and transparent. It is absolutely free and a huge community to support it. Software is also free, saving us on licensing and other things. Ubuntu is secure and great for our company data. There is fewer attacks on the OS. Many bugs are fixed following releases, and it is regularly updated. The patching of things is very proactive, and we also can choose when to update as to not disrupt the flow of business. Ubuntu is easy to install. Helping our IT professionals migrate our data should be a breeze. And our IT crowd would prefer a more free dynamic environment to work with instead of the restrictions that the Windows OS has. Far from perfect, always improving. The pros and cons of Ubuntu. Productivity is efficient with this particular operating system, as we can deeply customize the OS and desktop environment. We can tailor the OS with apps and software that each department needs. The GUI is slick and modern, with a nice corporate feel to it. As I mentioned in the last slide, Ubuntu gets regular release cycles. This is vital for the security of our data. Bugs and issues are addressed almost immediately, and the community is highly knowledgeable of how the OS operates. Some cons about Ubuntu is it might have a steep learning curve. For our casual users, the OS could be intimidating. As I said before, the fact that we can customize our desktop environment means the user can have a deep relationship with it. A better relationship with your desktop environment means more efficient workers. Even for those that cannot understand the OS at the beginning, there is training and support from our IT department. Also be aware that Ubuntu might be incompatible with certain hardware. For example, some computer manufacturers have agreements with Microsoft to block Linux, which is the kernel that Ubuntu runs on, from being installed in Lenovo's. Our Lenovo's would have to be replaced, and the cost of new hardware might not be what we need. Here are some other pros and cons of Ubuntu. It is an OS that learns from its mistakes. It is very inclusive and has an emphasis on localization. Before Ubuntu, few distributions concerned themselves with language support. Most were very Anglo-centric, and even switching keyboard layouts and fonts to support Western European language was difficult. Ubuntu's first release made graphic switching between multiple languages the norm. As we are an international company, it is best to be represented by an international operating system. Hardware support grows every kernel release. As I mentioned before, our Lenovo's might have to be phased out. But that doesn't mean it won't be available in the future. If a device didn't work maybe last month, it might work tomorrow. This is an example of learning from each experience. Some other cons we might be concerned with is apps instability. Microsoft Office Suite offers a smoother experience on Windows than the available apps that we have for Ubuntu. That does not mean there aren't better replacements. We just have to look for them. We are also responsible for any crashes. Our information technology team must be highly knowledgeable with the workings of the operating system. Training will cost, but it will definitely benefit us in the long run. Take, for example, the training of one IT individual. He or she can then train the trainer, saving us extra cost later on. I have provided a mock chart with projected licensing cost. Here you see what would happen if we were to migrate to Windows 10 Pro. On the left, we have the models of our computers and the number of physical machines. As you can see here, the numbers don't lie. Let's go see what Taters Inc future looks like with Ubuntu. We will have a live, brief demonstration of the operating system. Welcome to the Ubuntu desktop. We will briefly explore this customized desktop for Taters Incorporated. One of the biggest changes with Ubuntu is there is no start button on the left side, as most of our users are familiar with. Instead, we have a button on the right for Show Applications. Selecting this button will bring up a menu with a list of the OS's different applications installed. Let's look at the OS native apps, such as their equivalent to Microsoft Office. A very familiar and cozy at-home setting with this Office Writer. I have included 5 external apps that must be downloaded through Ubuntu Software Store. Here is what the Ubuntu Store would look like. But don't worry, it's safe. Your employees can't just download whatever they want on the OS. It will always ask for a password. These activities will be monitored by our information technology team. The Numeric app, or GNumeric, is a direct competitor with Excel. But with training and familiarity, we can do more with this app. Next on my list is Osmo. When I chose Osmo, I had our human resources department in mind. It can list tasks, dates, notes, and all the information we need in one place for all our employees. As you can see here, John Doe lives in 123 Mary Lane. His information is kept accurate and backed up through the app's backup data feature. We can also restore the data. Atom is my next app. Our website should be sleek and have a beautiful design. Atom helps our coders achieve that. With a dark theme and many features, our web developers can get the job done. We are all familiar with Skype, and yes, we can have Skype in Ubuntu. We value our workers' time away from work, but sometimes things arise. Skype is the best way to go to get everyone together to solve one problem. We can always get those pesky meetings out of the way, so information flows thoroughly throughout the company. Speaking of thorough information, Slack can keep us all together. For example, let's say we are working our quarterly 4 budget. We can have a whole team within this application. We can share files. We can cooperate more efficiently through this application. Here's an example of what a quarterly 4 budget thread would look like in this app. Thank you, shareholders and department heads, for this opportunity. And I hope Ubuntu is in your future.